Good afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the newscasters.com. It's so good to be with you every single day. I wanted to mention too, you can also send an email, and I love receiving emails from you. It's absolutely fabulous that I get to hear from you. If you have any ideas for shows, just a little research you would like for me to do, I'll be glad to do that for you. So Andrea sends a message, and she said, what can you use for colds? Or what if some weird kind of, accident comes and maybe we all get sick with something kind of like COVID? What can we do? Well, I don't know about that because I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm just an herbalist. But I will tell you some things that I've tried that are very, very tried and true. And so today we're going to be talking about, guess what? Hemlock. Yeah, you heard me right, hemlock. I'm not talking about Socrates and he got poisoned on the hemlock. There's different varieties of hemlock. First of all, this particular hemlock is like a pine tree, and I have a picture of it so you can see mine. Now I have two of these trees out in the yard, and they're tiny. They're like a pine tree, and I'll see if I can get a little bit closer. Like right here, you can see some of those tiny, tiny little pine cones. And then if you'll look right here, you'll see those tiny little pine cones, but you can also see those needles. It looks like a pine needle, and they're very, very short. They're probably about an inch. The longest, they wouldn't be any longer than 2 inches long. So anyway, that's what a hemlock tree looks like. Now let's start thinking about the hemlock Socrates and where he was poisoned with hemlock. That's a bush, and it really is not even a variety of this particular hemlock. They just happen to have the same name. So anyway, don't worry about me. We're going to be okay. I've been eating hemlock, and it's really good for you. As a matter of fact, it does have kind of a piney smell to it, but also smells very lemony like. It's like lemon, beautiful lemon scent. And it tastes more like lemon to me than it does pine, but it's so good for you. So let's go ahead and look at the first video. Now make sure everything is clean. I'm going to show you this video right here on how to go ahead and make a tincture out of it, and also how to make your own essential oils. Here we go. Okay, so I did come back. I've completely washed these. Phil made this really neat a bunch of these little S hooks for me, and what I like about these is I can go ahead and clean these, and so I'm going to put them on a hook like that. And I prefer to do it this way rather than putting it, like on a towel or something, because of the airflow. So let's go ahead and start hanging some of these up. And when we come back, again, I'm going to show you how to make the tincture, and then I'm also going to come back and show you how to make the essential oil. Yeah, this makes wonderful salves as well. So I'm just going to put a few at a time on here, and then I kind of shake them just a little bit, and I'm going to hang them. And so I've got a plant, and I'll go ahead and move this just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And so I'll just kind of put it right here so it can just kind of hang over the sink. And so that's all there is to it. So I've got a few errands I've got to run today, and while these are drying, I'll come back, and then we're going to make a tincture. Oops, got to put that one back up again, don't I? We'll be back. Okay, so you can probably hear the rooster out there. He gets very jealous when he hears my voice. He thinks he's got to keep and try to be ahead of me. But anyway, it's a rooster, and it's perfectly normal. I'm here on the farm, 38 acres. So we have all these flowers and herbs and garden and everything all going on. And so I decided, because of Andrea, because of the message she sent, there has to be something that you can take if you were sick already. A lot of medicines you take, over-the-counter stuff, and whatever the doctor could prescribe for you, it's like, well, it's too late. You've already got whatever flu or whatever it is. But with hemlock, it will stop it in its tracks. I'm just telling you, it's a great, great medicinal form. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. Let's go ahead and talk about how you hang these. It's almost like hanging of the greens at church. But let's talk about how you would hang these, and they do need to be very, very dry. Okay, so I did come back. I've completely washed these. Phil made this really neat a bunch of these little S hooks for me, and what I like about these is I can go ahead and clean these, and so I'm going to put them on a hook like that. And I prefer to do it this way rather than putting it, you know, like on a towel or something, because of the airflow. So let's go on ahead and start hanging some of these up. And when we come back, again, I'm going to show you how to make the tincture, and then I'm also going to come back and show you how to make the essential oil. Yeah, this makes wonderful salves as well. So I'm just going to put a few at a time on here, and then I kind of shake them just a little bit, and I'm going to hang them. And so I've got a plant, and I'll go ahead and move this just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And so I'll just kind of put it right here so it can just kind of hang over the sink. And so that's all there is to it. So I've got a few errands I've got to run today, and while these are drying, I'll come back, and then we're going to make a tincture. Oops, got to put that one back up again, don't I? We'll be back. There you go, and it needs to be really, really dry. So let that set for several hours up in the sink. And so Phil and I had a few errands that we had to run, and so then we came back, and that's when I started filming on how to make the tincture. So let's go on ahead. I'm going to read to you how, and then we got a couple more videos, very short videos, and then we'll go into a break, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk about why it's good for you. But here's how you make the tincture. So what you want to do is roughly chop the hemlock. I use scissors. Now I have the same scissors that I use for all of my herbs, and they're not to be used in the garage or not to be used in the workshop, nothing like that, only for the herbs. So go ahead and roughly chop those up after they've dried. Now it's important that they're dry, okay? I'm not talking about dry, but I'm talking about no moisture. Okay, so you need to go ahead and cut the needles and the fine twigs. Now, it wouldn't hurt to put the harder ones in there if you wanted to, but the reason you don't want to do that is every day you're going to pick these jars up and you're going to shake them, okay? Because every day, at least twice a day. If you can remember it, just run by the kitchen cabinet. It needs to be kept in a very dark place, cold, dark place, and then just shake it every single day. So if you've got those big limbs in there, they're probably not going to move around that much. So it's better just have them cut up smaller and use the thinner ones. Okay, you'll put them in a glass jar, and then what you want to do is cover the hemlock with some kind of liquor. It can be like brandy, anything that's at least 75%. 40% will work, but it just won't last the decades you need it to last, if it lasts that long. Let it set for a month or as long as you want. I let mine set at least 3 months. Okay, so you really need that kind of quality. Now, let it sit for a month as long as you want, and then you want to strain it. Now, what I do, I leave my stuff in the jar. So when I'm making my soaps, or if I'm making, any kind of skincare or anything like that, I like for mine to stay with it as much as possible and as long as possible, because all those wonderful herbs and all those leaves, the longer it stays in that solution, the stronger and the more potent it's going to be. Okay, let's see. You can sip it if you'd like to. Put it in some water or tonic water. It's real good mixed with some kind of a fruit drink. It's good that way. You can take it by the spoonful as a medicine. So if you start getting the flu, even if you're in the flu, you don't have to wait or anything like that. Go ahead and take it by the spoonful. Now, this is all natural. So, at least 3-4 times a day, whatever, is not going to hurt you. It's really delicious. To me, it tastes a lot like lemon. It's got this citrusy-like taste to it. Now, hemlock is warming, and it's very gentle, circulatory stimulant. It's rich in immune-stimulating essential oils. Hemlock has a special affinity for the respiratory system. So people like me who have asthma, people like you, you're having issues with your heart, it's really, really good. Now, it's rich in immune-stimulating essential oils. And remember, this makes sense for the tree because the trees are the lungs of the earth. So all that just kind of makes sense. It helps promote respiratory health. It heals wet and boggy coughs. You remember how I used to cough all the time? Clears congestion from both the lungs and the sinuses. So it's really good to take in the springtime of the year. And it also has some antimicrobial properties as well. So I'm pretty sure you're going to really like this. Let's go on ahead and look at the third video. This one's just a little bit longer, somewhere around 7 minutes, but let's go on ahead and cut into a commercial break. I just don't know what time it is. We'll be back in just a few minutes, I promise. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. We are talking about Eastern Hemlock medicine. Our ancestors, I've got Indian in me, and so it's from my great-grandmother's side of the family. Phil says he can tell when I go on the warpath. But anyway, there is some Indian in me, and there's just something about natural remedies. It's in my DNA. It's in my blood, and I am better off using an herb type medicine than I am anything else. I don't want anything that's going to make me nervous. I don't want anything that's going to make me shaky. I don't want anything that makes me want to go to sleep. So this is just not made in heaven for me. Let's go ahead now and look at that third video. Okay, so we are back, and so I did have the hemlock hanging in the window, and I like to do it this way. A lot of folks will go ahead and use a towel or something like that, and all those things are great. But what I found works best when I'm drying and I really want to use the fresh herbs instead of drying them out all the way. I just wanted to dry it enough to get the dampness out of it. I like to use these little hooks Phil makes for me, and they're easy to make. They're just made out of good sturdy wire. And so what I'll do is go ahead and just hook up a few of the limbs and hang them in the windowsill while I'm doing something else. And then I'll take them off and I start cutting. So here is a jar. Now this is a half-gallon jar right here, and this has some of the hemlock in it. And then I have another one right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is finish cutting so you can see what I'm doing. It's really easy to do. Just any pair of scissors. Now I have the scissors that I use only for cutting up my herbs. So I don't want anybody touching them. They're not to go into the shop or anything like that. They've got to stay here in this house. Another thing I'm going to do, I went on ahead and pulled off some of, look at these tiny, tiny little pine cones. So I'm going to use these in decoration. They actually look like, I'm going to make some herbs with them. I think if you painted these, maybe red, they would look like little roses. And so I've got some ideas for using these. And I have 2 hemlock trees out at the back, and they are full of these little pine cones. And making the tincture now, I wanted to mention this. So making tincture, and then I'm going to make also the oil out of it, the aromatherapy type oil. So this, you use either rubbing alcohol. Be really careful about using the rubbing alcohol. I suggest you use any kind of a oil liquor or a liquor type thing like brandy or something like that for this. And it needs to be at least 40% alcohol. And I like to use even higher grade than that, because the higher the grade, the longer these things are going to last. And I'm telling you, you can have tinctures that last decades. And so anyway, we're going to make the tincture out of this one. Then my infused oil will be made out of this one. Now you can use any kind of an oil, like a liquid type oil, something like a olive oil is what I'm using. Now when you use olive oil, make sure you're using a really good quality. And I do like this quality oil right here. It just lasts. And in a later episode we're going to be talking about, or later on in this episode, I'll talk to you about why I'm doing this and why I'm using hemlock. And I'll also explain, I know a lot of you are probably saying, what, are you trying to kill yourself or something? There's a hemlock. Now they're not in the same family, they just happen to have the same name. So this is all I'm doing, I'm just cutting right here. And the one that is poisonous, Socrates, and all that stuff, you heard that story. So the one that really is poisonous is a shrub. This is a tree, and it looks kind of like tiny leaf pine tree. And it's from the pine tree family. So there's a little pine cone right there that hasn't yet developed. And it smells so good in here. Now it smells like pine, kind of, sort of-ish. But I'm really smelling the citrus notes on this. And I'll be explaining this a little bit later on another episode, a little bit later in the segment rather, about why you need to be using this and the advantages of using it. Again, this is not poisonous hemlock, or I wouldn't be drinking it myself. But any type, hay fever, the common cold, the flu. I've heard a lot of folks, preppers, talk about using this with COVID outbreaks. And so anyway, we're going to just go ahead and make this, and I'll go ahead and fill jars up, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. But I've got this one ready. So let's go on ahead, and we'll put the alcohol in here. I don't think I've measured out enough. I'll be adding more. But this is vodka I'm putting in here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of move it kind of like this. Another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to gather a knife. I'll have that handy. Okay, so this is 2 cups. Now what you want to do is fill whatever herb that you're using, whatever you want to infuse. You need to put it up about 2/3 of a way, a little bit over half. and then you'll add whatever liquid you're going to use to that as well. And that really needs to be all the way up to here. And I'll go ahead and add that and show you what the finished product is. I like to get a knife like this. Now I want to kind of move it around in there because I want to make sure everything is touching. Now let me just say this, the longer you leave this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the ginkgo leaf tincture. We have a ginkgo tree out in the yard. And so this one was actually done on the 14th of May. So this is done on the 14th of May. And let's make sure I got that right. Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was on 4/5/24. Okay, so the key is, you can see how dark that is. Now what this is ginkgo, and it was the color of the olive oil, and now it is darkened. It's like a kind of a darkened green, almost an amber color green. Ginkgo is really, really good for you too, for your nervous system and for the brain, absolutely. So we take this every day with our, I take ginger every day, and a little bit of olive oil, and a little bit of vinegar and that kind of thing, and it really does help with your cognitive issues if you're having any. And then this is comfrey. Now this is infused with olive oil, and it's darker too. And every day you shake this, but let me tell you what I like to do, because the longer it sets in the herbs, the absolute better it is. So the longer it sets, the better. But you've got to shake it and turn it upside down. Make sure you got your lid on good and tight, by the way. And so you need to do that at least in the morning, once in the morning, and at night. Now, I've been busy a lot of times and only done it in the morning and didn't get to it at night. And that's not going to hurt anything, but I do suggest you do that. I'm going to go on ahead and get ready for the next segment. I'll go ahead and get the rest of these cut up for you, and I'll put them in here, and then we'll go ahead and get these things started infusing, and we'll just see what happens. Oh, and by the way, I'm smelling a lot of lemon in here. I'll be right back. So there you go. That's how you make it. And I wanted to read a few other things to you. First of all, what parts do you use of this tree? Now, back in the day, when people actually tanned their own hides, like leather and that kind of thing, they used the bark of this tree because it was a wonderful tannin. And I know how to do that. And now I'm telling you what, it takes a very, very long time to do that, to tan those hides. But this tree has many more uses than being medicinal. So let me go ahead and explain some of that to you. The description, first of all, it's kin to related to, we say kin here, but anyway, it's related to the white pine. And it's definitely the most common evergreen found in the forest. It grows in a distinctive shape. And you saw that from the pictures. There we go. It's kind of wispy looking. It's whimsical. There's just something magical about that tree. I really do like it. So short needles it has, 3/8 to 5/8 of an inch, growing in 2 rows off of a branch. You saw that in the video. It's flat, it's flexible, and rounded at the tip, so it's not sharp. Shiny dark green above the 2 white lines below. That's how you can tell that it's healthy for you, by the way. There are 2 little tiny white lines down below. It has very small cones, and they're like 5 inches to 3/4 of an inch long. That could be confused with the poisonous Canada yew, but it's not. It's in the family, but it's not. Sometimes it's called the ground hemlock, a low-growing native forest shrub that can be toxic at large doses internally, but this species has dark green needles both above and below. It can reach up to 175 feet tall and over 6 feet in diameter. This is a tall tree. It's been there for years. Shares a common name with poison hemlock, but it's completely different plant. So don't worry about me. I know what you're thinking. Donna will just dive into anything. No, I've actually had some of it, so I know it's not going to hurt you. Okay, now, the young, bright green needles that grow in late spring are especially high in vitamin C and make a great trailside snack in medicine, so if you're out in the woods. Never girdle a tree when collecting bark, as it will kill the tree. But I sure do like gathering those limbs, and it smells so good. and it smells so good on your hands as well. Now, the taste, and this is how it's been described, is bitter, pungent, sweet, and sour. I kind of say it could be bitter, I guess. Depends on what time of the year you do get those branches. To me, it tastes a lot like lemon. I mean, you can really taste that lemon in it. Energetics, it's warm and it's dry. Constituents, you can make essential oils with it as well. And tannins, except in the bark. Okay, now herbal actions, you can use it. You want to use it as an herbal. Astringent, circulatory stimulant, diuretic, expectorant, and immune enhancer. Now let's talk about the medicinal uses as well. I hope I have time. Okay, I've got some time. Okay, so the needles are the most medicinal part of this species, and the inner bark and sap have some use as well. So the young new growth in the tips can be eaten and are a spring tonic. They're deliciously sour, if that makes sense. Tonifying the digestion, promoting digestive secretions, and waking up the liver. Now, like the white pine, and you can use white pine as medicinal as well. The needles are very rich in vitamin C, and they do build immunity during the cold and flu season, and can help lessen the duration of an illness if it has already set in. You know, like I said, a lot of medicines, they say, too late, you got it now. My question has always been, well, how am I going to know when I get it? So anyway, that's why I keep this stuff right here on hand. It has an affinity for the lungs and is helpful for wet, boggy cough and all over tonic for the respiratory system. It makes a delicious tea, especially when mixed with wild medicinal fruits like your rose hips and your elderberry and hawthorn. Now, it's rich in tannins. The bark is very astringent and can be used as a wash for many skin irritations. Okay, diarrhea. Also, it can tonify the skin and helps reduce excess secretions in the body. The sap is also medicinal and can be used similar to the pine species as a warming expectorant in the chest rub. That's another reason I'm making the essential oil. We get a chest cold, that stuff's going to go on our chest. And it's for a good oil for also for sore muscles, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, and it draws out splinters, by the way, and so on. Also, hemlock is a host for our very native much room reshine. In the forest, hemlock has a very calming, soothing presence. It does. And it tends to do the same as medicinal preparations. It's a wonderful addition to any incense blend preparation. You can use it in tea, salve. I'll be making some salves with it. Incense, elixir, put it in honey, infused oil, cordial, ghee, that's your homemade butter, syrup, vinegar, bath and salt scrubs, and essential oils. Now here's the dosage real quick, and then we've got to go. You can take a teaspoon with a cup of water and just drink it freely. You can also use vinegar, honey, oil, salve, cream, elixir. Again, enjoy it freely. I wanted to mention this to you if you're pregnant or if avoiding high dosages in pregnancy due to the high vitamin C content. And also, you can make hemlock noodles. You can dry it and grind it for flour for baking as well. And also, the inner bark can also be soaked to produce a pink dye. The bark is very high in tannins and was formerly used in the tanning industry. And at one point, the tree was even threatened in the Northeast due to an overharvest. So I'm just glad to say that I've got hemlock tree, 2 of them, on my land. But again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna, and I hope you have a really good, awesome day today. Thank you again so much for watching Donna's Edge Talk Show.